Hello, welcome to the third episode of Galactic Reiki TV. I have with me Molly. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Molly Cooling, and I am a Reiki practitioner and teacher, as well as a massage therapist.
Welcome, Molly. Thank you for giving the interview. And we are in Chicago on Montrose Dock Beach. And it's a warm, nice day. We asked for the sun, it didn't show up. Sun, please come up and give us a miracle. All right, we wanted to talk the last episode. Is it last? Last of the three speaking episodes. I wanted to invite conversation about negativity and bad people, bad events, bad stuff. How do we start? Say a simple question. If the person that comes to you is sort of negative in some ways, how do you deal with it?
Well, one thing that's important is I always protect myself before a session, and there's different ways we do that, but sort of sealing off my own aura, setting the intention that only that which serves me comes in. Because if I'm constantly getting my energy drained by these sort of energy vampires, whether those are people or events in my life, that I'm not of service to others. So that's number one. But if somebody's coming in and they're pretty negative and they're pretty stuck in sort of negative thought patterns, I just set the intention that I always set, which is that this energy may go to their greatest good. And try to help them become present in the room, because a lot of times when somebody's stuck in negativity, it's because they're somewhere else, right? We're in these thoughts that aren't here now. And if you're coming in for a session with me, you're in my office with dim lighting and candles and nice music and a warm table, and you don't have anything to do or anywhere to be but there. And so really trying to help them connect with their bodies and themselves rather than being just stuck in the head. A lot of times in Western society, it's like this is the only thing that exists for a lot of us, and remembering that there's a whole other part of you from the neck down, and that if we can help people connect with that and what's going on in their bodies, it can sometimes take some of that energy away from those negative thought patterns.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Similar things with me. I don't really perceive people as negative in most cases. In some cases, there are exceptions, but in most cases, I see good in them. Yeah. First thing I would do, I would try to understand and try to empathically to connect to them. Kind of understand them, ask questions. And what happens, I invite them to jump on the bed right away, and I put my hands on their head. And just by itself, that touch in their head, like that, touch in their head kind of brings the person to a protected state of being a child loved by a mother. So I always kind of have a sensation to people, even if it's a beautiful girl or an old either gender person, I would imagine them as a child and treat them as children. And that brings a child within them. Even most obsessed people have the inner child. So that kind of brings them into a protected state. And when I speak to them, I ask them questions which allow them to reconnect to a higher state. So I kind of lift them up not too high, so they don't go all the way into astral God state. Many of them are actually well connected to God, but they are not in a positive state. So I bring them a little bit up in a place where they are welcome and understood.
You made me think of something. So somebody once asked me, what happens if somebody comes in, a new client comes in, and you don't like them? and I would agree with Max that, I tend to see the good in people, in life in general, but also it's very rare that somebody who's there to seek healing is completely stuck in the negative, because they're seeing that there's maybe some other way to be, in the world. And it's rare that somebody comes in for a Reiki session or even a massage and is unpleasant, because they're looking to have a pleasant experience, and so they've already envisioned that for themselves. And so that really helps open up that doorway to something different than maybe they had before they walked in. So I think that's important.
Yeah, some of them start speaking about things which are negative. They are obsessed about negative things, and usually these negative things really are not of their concern. They are so abstract, like government doing something bad or bad people doing something bad, very distant from them. They're just obsessed about that possibility, about that scenario. And I guess my advice is, treat it as if it was a natural phenomenon. You wouldn't really get obsessed about the rain or the snow or the wind or things of that sort, which you're not obsessed about the night coming every night, right? The sun going away, one night maybe you are so worried about, but not every night. So get used to that, I guess. I'm trying to bring them to the things that are in their control and their choices. That's one thing.
Yeah, I think, a good example that happened in my own life recently was, I got a parking ticket, right? And I missed the meter by 2 minutes or something. And my immediate, human reaction was to feel sort of angry or frustrated or victimized by the city of Chicago. And then I thought, Molly, life is such that you're going to just, if you drive enough times and you park your car enough times, someday your car is going to get a ticket or it's going to get towed, just like everything else in life. Sometimes your ceiling is going to get a leak in it if you live in your house for long enough. And so kind of just realizing that we don't need to necessarily think of these things as bad, because they're just part of, things are always going to come up. But I think that we're sort of taught maybe to believe that at some point everything's just going to go our way if we just work hard enough, and then nothing will ever be a problem again, or a problem. And so what I tried to do with that parking ticket, instead of getting angry, I just said, Molly, that money wasn't yours, and maybe having that money would have been a bad thing for you. You just don't know. And so just kind of trying to neutralize some of that stuff. And like Max said, if you can't control it, what's the point? Yeah,
there is an old Hasidic fairy tale. Their poor family had a single cow. You know this one.
That's a good one.
And at some point the cow just died, and their main source of milk died. So they asked Rabbi why that happened, why God was so unfair to them. And he said, actually, the angel of death came and wanted to take your wife, but the angel of light gave him a cow, so that was a fair trade, and your wife is saved. So that sort of thing. So when I get a parking ticket, I think it's a nice, a good deal actually to pay for something that might have happened.
Yeah, there's a similar, and maybe it's a similar sort of fable or something, maybe from a Buddhist sect, where these sort of series of bad things happen to this family, and every time something bad happens to this family, like the cow dies, right? Somebody comes and says, "Oh, that's so terrible. I'm so sorry. It's such a terrible thing." And the father, who has the wisdom to know that we never know if something's good or bad for us until oftentimes later, or maybe never. Every time they say this is such a terrible thing, he responds by maybe. So, or every time somebody says this is such a great thing, you might say maybe, because we just don't know. And it's I think often many of us are not raised with that mentality, so it's very much programmed neurologically programmed to go down this is good and this is bad pathway. And that sort of is the root of a lot of our mental obsessions with negativity.
And that brings us to the idea of how life is unfair. I guess, yeah, it's the whole idea. I don't know how much of Reiki is here, but it's so closely linked to each other. When you start working with these energies, it comes up much more often. You're kind of attuned to the ideas of fate and angels and other energies playing with you. And at some point you feel guided. At other point you feel abandoned. Do you feel abandoned? Sometimes yes. Sometimes you're in the deepest, darkest situation and you feel they abandon you, basically. And it's another lesson. And again, it's up to you how to play it. How do you play it?
Well, I can give a pretty good example of that. So shortly after, maybe a year and a half after I first started studying Reiki and practicing Reiki, I had an experience that sort of pushed me into this feeling of despair or abandonment. And I've struggled with depression on and off my entire adult life, adolescence to adult life. And I felt myself going down that road again. And I was really frustrated with feeling that feeling again, because I had thought, well, I've discovered Reiki, which has led me to all of these other things, and I have so much more faith in something larger than myself. I have a connection to something larger than myself. And now, how can I be going down the same old path? And eventually I kind of figured out, well, number one, I don't have to. But more importantly, I had kind of, it felt actually worse than it ever had to go down this path. And I think the reason is because I'd always kind of functioned at this level, right, throughout my life. And when I found Reiki, I moved up here. And so that fall down to depression felt like an even greater fall because my baseline became much higher. But I also knew that I had these tools, and it's always there. Like, even when you think you lose your faith, if you actually have faith in something, if you have connection to something bigger than yourself, you can always find it. And look, the sun just came out.
Oh. Yes! You made it. It's just a nice illustration. They waited for the right time to show up.
But Max was in despair, but now he's okay.
Yeah, I mean, every time it's different. There is no single solution. Every time you get out of this depression, out of this out of this events of bad luck, that you have to figure out a new way, right? If it was one answer, it wouldn't be an interesting test, learning experience. It would not be interesting lesson. So yeah, the answer is that's the nature of the reality where we are. That is, it's unfair. That is, fairness is here, but not fully. Sometimes it's unfair, and it's up to you what to choose. And if you choose to go down, they let you go down. If you choose to climb up, they let you climb up. And sometimes they help, and sometimes they don't. We don't know the answer. Actually, we are talking here. We got glimpses here and there. We got to the next level. We got some answers, but that answer about fairness and who is playing the games and how the games are played and what are the lessons, we still don't know. Do you know? I mean, we know many answers, but
no. I was at a Dharma talk at a meditation group recently, and they were talking about sort of, a big concept within Buddhism is that suffering is inevitable, but that there is a way out of it. And this root cause of suffering being that we would like to control everything. But they said something really interesting in this talk that I hadn't heard before, which is controlling everything is actually really suffocating and is really boring and not interesting. So if you think about it, you may be in a relationship with somebody and they're not behaving the way you would like them to behave, and you have the urge to control the situation and manipulate the situation. But if you were to actually control that person and they had no independent thoughts or behaviors, that relationship would be completely boring and it would only be with yourself. Just like if you were to control the world, you would never have anything to interact with. So wanting to control everything is actually extremely irrational when you really take it to that extreme. So that kind of spoke to me like, oh yeah, because life would be so boring if I just got to control everything that happened every day. So I think that's important to remember when you have that urge to like want to be like, I shouldn't get a parking ticket. I want to control the situation and you know, make it, and I want to turn back time and be to my car 2 minutes earlier so I don't get that parking ticket. Because you know what, life would be really boring if nothing ever happened that I didn't manufacture. So
Thank you. Yeah, you gave me, I guess, the answer I wanted to pronounce. Accepting is the key. Yeah, practicing acceptance is the key, and it is not easy. Accepting the bad patient as he is, as she is, with all the negativity. And if they don't want to change, accepting even that. They came to heal, but they want the healing without changing. And we know that it is the state of mind which needs to be changed first, the state of soul which needs to be changed first, and then the pain will go away. They want the pain to go away, but they don't want to change their state of mind. They don't want to change their focus on negativity, for example. They don't want to stop watching TV and negative things on TV and stuff. So accepting that, if you don't want to change, that's fine too. We are here to help, but only by invitation. If you invite us to help, we would help. But if you don't want to be healed, it's fine as well, right? And same thing, so that is about negative people, accepting them as they are and trying to help on their terms, trying not to give them all the knowledge, not to try to give you all the knowledge, but only the knowledge which you ask for. Only doing the next step. So you're here, and sometimes you are even above me, but as a healer I can help even people who are above me in their spiritual development. I still can give them the next step by somehow I can channel that to them, even without understanding. Sometimes people have profound spiritual experiences, and I'm here just offering my hands. I'm not there. I'm not living their spiritual experience. I'm here on my level. That's part of the job description.
Right. Yeah, one of the things that my Reiki teacher says is, you know, in a Reiki session, you're just channeling this energy. You're not giving them, you know, you're not controlling the situation. In fact, you have to really let go of the outcome. And so it's a good parallel for life. Just letting go of the outcome and doing the best that you can to serve. But you don't get to take credit if they have an experience that's like enlightenment and connected to oneness. And you also don't have to take credit if they said, I didn't, you know, get what I wanted out of that. It's because it's really not up to us as the Reiki practitioner. We're just here to be the best channel that we can possibly be, with the faith that every person's going to get what they need. So
that's right. Yeah, do we know what we are doing? In a way, yes. I mean, when you drive the car, do you really care how it is designed? When you work on a computer, as long as it works predictably, as long as you did it many times and you know what you're doing, like you're trained, it doesn't really matter what happens on the other side. If the help that comes helps, if the healing that comes heals, that's all is needed, right? In our bodies, we don't have access to all the vast knowledge of the spiritual world. We know some of the ways to deal with it, and we are trained to channel certain energies with certain pattern. And actually, when we are trained, we are tuned by other Reiki people, and we kind of calibrate our Reiki energy by others when we come together. So that is the culture. We are within the culture, but the level of understanding is limited. We understand only that much. We have only that much experience. And again, there is so much trust and acceptance. We just accept it. We trust it to come and do whatever it's supposed to do. Right?
Yeah, that's sort of the beautiful thing about it, because I always just ask that this Reiki energy do what it needs to do, and ask for support from, you know, my sort of guides and my higher power. instead of feeling like all this pressure on myself to make something happen. And that's liberating in a way. And you know what? This is a great mystery, this world in which we live in, because you can explain things with science to a certain level, and then there's still the question of, like, where did this all come from and what is this all about? And nobody has an answer for that, for sure. You know, we have religions and we think we may know, but ultimately we don't know. And so if we can tap into some of that great mystery and use it as a vehicle for people to heal, spur changes that will help them grow as human beings, and great. That's way better than me trying to figure out how to fix somebody. So
as you speak, I feel the Reiki energy flowing through that finger into microphone. So if you get it there, it was sent. All right, it was recorded. Especially when you spoke about science and the mystery, yes, it was very close to me. Acceptance, yes, acceptance and forgiveness. That's the secret. Trust, acceptance, and forgiveness. Forgiving yourself, even for errors which you will make. For sure, the errors are here. And thanking things like thankfulness, being thankful. You start with being thankful, you end with being thankful. And thank you for watching and being part of this, as you say, co-creation. Yeah, one of the recent depressions, yes, it wasn't the clinical depression. I was functional, but the things didn't go well. Everything went down, and the death was kind of just, I was facing it. It was visible to me, and not physically, but I just felt that, when there is no energy and the hopes don't work out, here is the death in somewhere in the future. I already can see it, right? You can see it. And how do you relate to it? And I was kind of first time in my, as you grow older, there are fewer and fewer things that you do first time in your life. Like you kiss a girl first time in your life. You try sushi first time in your life. You
go swimming, play with a dog.
Yeah, those simple things. You fly overseas first time in your life. You become a father and many other things the first time in your life. But then, fewer and fewer things you do first time. And recently I did first time in my life. I said, okay, I will die. I will accept it. That was first time ever, the thought just didn't come to my mind before. It was so distant, and then it was, okay, I will come home, that sort of thing. And that was maybe one of the main reliefs of that depression. I felt that, okay, whatever happens, I accept it, thank you. And if I have more time to play, I will play. And I played with whatever. Yeah, the key was the answer, my usual answer. Yes, your cards are bad, but play with whatever cards you got. And maybe you'll get better cards next round around, yeah. Any more? Negative people. And in every every one of us has a negative part. Everyone. And every one of us is a healer. Even negative person is a healer. And some of them are even better healers than an average ones, because it takes guts to be a negative person. And some of the negative people in certain circumstances or under certain decisions, they become best helpers, best warriors, best protectors, best friends. They do care because they do care somehow. And if a negative person becomes a healer, they might become even stronger healers because they have that sharpness. They can really cut it out energetically or otherwise. Do you have examples of that?
I'm thinking of a similar, maybe not quite the same thing, which is somebody who, somebody might say, oh, well, Molly, you suffered from depression. How can you work with people in this capacity as a, healer? And for me, the person who's, kind of, when we've all gone through painful experiences, and that those painful experiences make us a stronger more empathic. They make us realize our own resilience, which makes us see the potential resilience in other people. And so I think that that's really important. I've certainly been stuck in negative states, and so perhaps there's more empathy and compassion and tolerance for somebody else who's stuck in a state of negativity, rather than, just sort of being somebody who, turns a blind eye to that part of life. But being able to see life for all that it is, and therefore accepting people wherever they are.
Thank you. Yeah. Same thing here. Yeah, I was thinking, why do I have to go through all these pains and all these sicknesses? Being big part of the life, having little pain here, little pain there, and suffering from all of those. It's just being alive, right? And I formulated the formula, which I would share with you. I think it's profound. I don't know, maybe it just came. So we all come to this life to study medicine. Some of us study medicine as doctors, or some of us choose to study the medicine as doctors, and some of us choose to study medicine as patients. So you're either a healer or they're healy, a patient, but you still have to learn all of that stuff. You cannot really go through life not noticing the sicknesses. And it's better to become a healer. Every one of you, every one of us is a healer. The energy is there. It's up to you to open it up and use it well. I wanted to give another a little story, a little experience, share a little experience, which I often give to people who are selfish before they do a session, before they get a session. I'm selfish for sure, somewhat, and I like to share it as well, so I know what it is. So I'm often critical, especially, I will tell you the experience. So my friend is very trusting, very high-spirited, very simple one. It's, very gullible. It's called gullible, right? Gullible. Whatever they say, if he sees an airplane, he would think that is an orb or UFO. That he's that. Maybe it is there, but I would see an airplane there, and he would see an UFO there. So we went to a place where there was a guided meditation and other things. And I was thinking that the person who is speaking and guiding the meditation, do I really trust them? Do they really know what they are doing, and how they say that, and what is the text they say, and what do they really think when they say that? So I was thinking, how do I look, and what people around me, are they open their eyes or do they close their eyes? So by the end of meditation, I barely touched the surface of where I was sent, and my friend had a profound spiritual experience. So who was at loss and who was it to be in, right? Allen Ginsberg was saying, even there is something to learn. There is something to learn even from a bad guru. Yeah. So even from a negative person, there is something to learn. Even from a teacher who you don't trust to be really smart and really spiritual, you can learn from that. And even in a negative person, that you raise their vibration and turn a little bit with a different angle, and they become a discovery. You find something wonderful there. Yeah, a story there, something very profound. Often, not always, but often. So, do you have anything else before we finish?
No, I think that's it.
So we wish you to take the spiritual part from what we said. We really mean it. We really intend it. We really invite high energies to shine through us and get to you, to your heart. From our heart to your heart. From our heart to your soul. From our soul to your heart, and from our soul to your soul. Blessings. And now we do our commercial part. I'm Max Rempel, Reiki Master and PhD. Find me at galacticreiki.com. I offer Reiki sessions and Reiki classes at northern part of Chicago. My phone number is 872-704-0008, and it's textable. My email is max@galacticreiki.com, and subscribe to this channel. We will post more episodes here. And Molly, give us what do you offer and how to find you.
Sure. So I offer Reiki sessions, massage sessions, or combination of the two, as well as teach Reiki levels 1 and 2 and an energy self-care workshop. All that information can be found on my website at mollycooling.com, which is MOLLYCOELING.com. You can email me also at molly.cooling, COELING@gmail.com, and you can call or text at 773-288-9867.
And thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you very much for being with us. Much love and appreciation. Bye-bye.